Good morning. Or maybe not good morning. Welcome anyway to the final Galaxy Luminalia stream. Good morning. Oh no, I have to mute myself. Or maybe not. Well, thank you for joining me. I have streamed this 2 times already. This is basically the last time slot, and I just wanted to try a different time to reach some different people. If you're from Germany like me, as I see in the comments, why are you up this early? I don't understand. This is the stream made for the Americans, I thought. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. As always, a full tour of the Galaxy with all its interior modules and another look at the exterior if we want to. As always, I have a lot of German viewers. Feel free to ask stuff in German and I'll try to get that working. Oh, Michigan. So you're just catering to my language. That's nice, thank you very much. Yeah, as always, to everyone, feel free to just, I guess you can just ask your questions today. In the second last stream, we got a little too many chat messages for me to handle because I'm not really used to streaming. So if you want to help me, you can put a question in front of your question, but for these few people, it should be fine. Bread puns. That's a good one. Oh, I completely overread that. It's gluten tag. That's okay. That's brilliant. That's actually good. Yeah. What else do I have to say before I start? If you haven't seen any of these streams, they are not as pretty as my videos, obviously, because I have to display this in real time. And if you are one of my patrons by any chance, the Galaxy scene that I gave out to my members, where you can walk around yourself, it's also not as pretty because I never set the interior up for, well, neither streaming nor being in a game engine. That's why the lighting looks so flat, because I build it to be rendered into a video and not to be live. And that is something that is a problem now. I'm starting to fix that. I have 2 rooms in this video where I started to fix that and have prettier lighting, and that's what I'm going to do in my scenes in the future. But for now, let's just have a good look at how big this thing is, and if you again have questions about anything, mostly about the modules, feel free to ask. And yeah, what application do you do these tours in? Did you put the models into Unity or Unreal? I do these tours in Blender. This is just Blender. And for the scenes that I have for my patrons, it's a Unity scene because I want that running in a web browser. But this is live in Blender. That is another reason why it's not as efficient as running it in a game engine. But there's reasons why I have to do that. Alright, let's get going. Unlike the main videos, we're not starting at the airlock, but instead at the lower engineering room. This is actually right below the bridge, and this is where your components, well, most of your components will probably be housed, as well as some engineering terminals maybe. We don't really know much about that because when this was announced, engineering was not as well planned as it is now. But I'm starting here because there's a surface elevator, and that is your main entrance to the galaxy if you don't have any of the modules equipped. So starting from here, we have one of the walkways to the front, and this is one of the places where you can see this is so narrow that there's a lot of wasted space on both sides. Wasted space is is one of the topics I'll speak about a few times, because there's so much space in this ship that could have been used for, well, more at least. And yeah, this is one of those places where you lose a lot of space. And also around this in the front here, there's, yeah, room for another at least 2 rooms. Next to that we have a this is one of the rooms that has not been talked about too much, but it's probably where you have your suit lockers, your weapon racks, your personal inventory, basically where you get ready to, yeah, use one of the 2 ground elevators. And it is perfectly placed so that you have your small ground elevator in the front, and then a little to the back you'll have your main big elevators if you have any of the relevant modules equipped. So that's well placed for that. Staging area, yeah, that's a good way to put it. And this is one of the rooms that I really want to make prettier, but so far it's only placeholders. Going further to the back, we have one lift up, and that is your lift that takes you to the airlock, the bridge, and the mess hall, basically. But today we're going to go on the lower floor first. And we start by entering the place that will be your module. Right now there is no module equipped, and the Q&A says that if you don't have any module equipped, you will still have an empty room, they called it an empty void, that you can walk through and pass through, and you can also store stuff in, but there are no cargo grids, so everything you put here is unsecured and kind of unsafe. Maybe they do this room, they make it smaller, maybe they make it to be just a little corridor to get through here, but we don't know. The only thing we know is that even without a module equipped, you can still pass through these 2 doors and whatever is in between. Also, this terminal is basically part of every single module, so I would assume it's also there when you don't have a module equipped. Right now it wouldn't do much. I think for the others is where I guess you would control all your tractor beams and your hangar elevators and all that kind of stuff. Further to the back, that's your main hangar. These boxes are not there just for fun, they are also exactly 1 SCU, so you have a point of reference, or that's actually 1.25 meters in every axis. And the hangar is, honestly, looking at my videos, it's the biggest point of criticism about the ship, because it's a lot less spacious than it looks like. So, well, let's get starting with the layout first. On the sides, so in between these pillars here, you have your cargo grids. So only here you have cargo grids, and it's a space for 64 SCUs. So 32 on both sides. So you can't even stack them. That's not a lot of cargo space. And then in the middle here, you can land a ship. So that's spacious enough for an XXS ship. That's your Pisces, your MPUV, and maybe an Arrow, but nothing bigger than that. I have obviously tried a lot of different ships. If you haven't seen any of my videos, which is unlikely because, well, you're here, here's a list of the ships that I have tried and in what kind of videos. The basically nothing really fits. Pisces for sure, even 2, but even an Aurora sticks out at the back, and everything that sticks out at the back will keep you from closing the doors, and therefore will keep you from entering quantum, so you can't really use it efficiently. And that means your prospector, your vulture, all the things that would be interesting for, well, refinery or mining gameplay, you can't really use this as a carrier platform. I tried both, and you currently can get both in, like both a prospector and a vulture, but again they will stick out halfway, so you can land, get out, get something, or get rid of your boxes or saddlebags or something, but you won't properly land and use this as, again, your carrier platform. Will it get extended? It might, let's hope so, but currently, yeah, no really bigger ships. I have getting a lot of questions about stuff that could fit here. The latest one was the Hornet, if it fits a Hornet, and usually I always say, according to my measurements, well, this and that, and it's likely, and I'm not saying, I'm not talking in absolutes, because this is my reconstruction and I don't know, but I can say for sure that it won't fit a Hornet. The Hornet is so massive. Like, the Hornet is almost twice as big as this hangar. Currently, from basically here to the end, it's 15.5 meters, and it's 13 meters from pillar to pillar. I measured from pillar to pillar because the room in between, usually you can't get there with ships because, well, the pillars are in the way. So 13 meters wide and 15 meters long, that's again almost half of the Hornet. And if you have something that could fit in here, it gets 18 meters wide, but that's still not enough for a Hornet. If you have been to CitizenCon by any chance and saw the Hornet standing there, the model of the Hornet, even that was not to scale. It was between half and maybe 2/3, but it was absolutely not the original size. That thing is just massive. But as you can see, the hangar is quite tall, so that's a bit weird because you can't really stack anything or get... We don't have really any vertical ships. Oh, actually, I could have tried the Sulan. That might have been interesting. Maybe I'll try that in the future, but there aren't many vertical ships, at least, to make use of this tall hangar. Let's have a look and go upstairs, though. On this side, you have a lift going upstairs. And on the opposite side, we have a ladder, which will come in handy when we get gameplay for power outages. And from here, you can see it's actually quite nice to have such a tall hangar because the view will be amazing. So I think this is one of the areas that does not really make a lot of sense, like scale-wise. I mean, sense in we don't have a lot of purpose for the whole height of the room. But gameplay-wise or like roleplay-wise, this will be an amazing room and people will just love this hangar, even though it might not have the greatest layout for usability. Just because these views are, well, prettier than in most other ships, I would say. In the middle here, there will be some kind of engineering terminal. Can you fit an F8 or an F7? Absolutely not, no. They are also too big. The F7 is the Hornet, right? Did you... sorry, I just talked about them. If you just joined, the Hornet is almost 30 meters long and the hangar is only 15. So absolutely no. Speaking about tractor beams, now that you mentioned that, no tractor beam has been confirmed for this back hangar, which is a bit weird. I would assume there is one, but we don't know. Maybe there is none and you would have to use the handheld tractor beams, which could also be the reason, because in the back, the big door there, you don't have a ramp access. So everything you want to get into this back hangar, you would have to tractor in, basically. So that's another reason why this is another reason why this is the size of an MPUV, because it will heavily rely on the tractor of the MPUV. Yes, Billy, this is a white box of the Galaxy, but it's not an official white box on the Galaxy. Yeah, this is the I'll do it myself version. I have reconstructed this based on the artwork, but it's very accurate, like almost over 90% accurate at least. Oh, and it's complete. It has everything in it. Where were we? Yeah, no ramp access. So again, this is mainly a ship hangar. And up here, there will be some kind of engineering terminal, something there's something in the artwork. You can see screens here. I'm not sure what they are used for. Maybe just opening the doors and yeah, controlling the potential tractor beam, but yeah, here's some kind of engineering terminal. On the sides, you have these two seats on the opposite sides. They could actually be engineering terminals too. Honestly, there would be quite a lot here, but could be. What my best guess is that they are the remote turret accesses, just because on the very opposite side of this wall is where the two turrets on the wings basically are. And so I think these are probably the turret accesses, even though you don't really have to have them at this very position, because I mean it's remote. I just think it makes sense, and also I hope and I would like to have a small window here, even if it's a remote turret and you still look at your screen. Again, for immersion and gameplay and roleplay reasons, it would be great to have a window to actually see outside, even if it's just from the corner of your eye while you're shooting. And also a window here would be absolutely possible. There's a perfect place outside, and this ship just needs more windows. Yeah, apart from that, you can see that the top deck now is pretty symmetrical. And it's also pretty similar to the just released Starlancer. It has the same weird walk around hallway, which wastes again a lot of space. And on this part, this is now the crew quarters basically. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, and here a 5th room for all crew members but your captain. They all get their own little small room with a bed and their own separate bathroom. And that differentiates it a bit from the Polaris, where you have many, not many, you have 2 people per room. I think this is one of the areas where you can see that this is a less military ship compared to the other big RSI ships we have right now. And this is a good point to, I got a lot of comments, a lot of negative comments about the RSI Galaxy being pushed on the roadmap. It was supposed to enter production, well, a few weeks ago, basically after the Polaris was done, but then the Perseus took its place, and the official reasoning was that the Perseus has more shared assets with the Polaris because of its military nature. And Yeah, that got a lot of criticism, but this was one of the points that I really understood, because looking at this ship and looking at the Polaris, they don't have that many similarities. This is a lot more civilian, and so I get the point that the Perseus has more shared assets and will be done a lot faster. It's sad that the Galaxy is moved back, but I think it will just profit from all the gameplay that is developed in the meantime, because we can see that the newer ship, the better it is suited for all the new gameplay mechanics, and with base building and stuff just being built out now, I think the Galaxy will profit from waiting longer, basically. Let's hope so. So yeah, that's your 5 different crew compartments. And then you have one room, and that is your captain's quarters. This is one of the few rooms that I have properly lit now, finally. And I love this room because from here you have a view all the way up to the bridge. There are usually doors in between. 3 doors actually. But I think it's a great view. I like that you can see your team working in the front, and also you have your first window of the ship actually. Yeah, lovely room. Again, your very own bathroom. And oops, this is also, if you are one of my patrons or channel members, this is where you find your plate with your name. And I just got my first $25 Patreons, which is way too much money. You don't have to do that, but since you did, here's your special plaque. Thank you to all guys that actually support me building this stuff in my free time. That's really great. Yeah, so they get their names in these videos and also in the models, because they get access to this model and can walk around the ship for themselves in a web browser. Right, and then up to the front, we have the mess hall, where you have again great view to the top. It's the biggest window apart from the bridge, and I lost a kitchenette here. There's supposed to be a small kitchen here, a seating area just for 4 people for some reason, and then on the opposite side some recreational area with a billiard table, a screen, and a big seating area. This is again one of the rooms where you really lose a lot of space. There's plenty of space behind this wall and the other one on the opposite side too. I don't know why these rooms are not extended a few more meters and have this made a window, because there's perfect space for a window here, and it's weird to have a view to the top but not to the sides where you can actually see your surroundings. Yeah. Still, I really like the layout of the room. Depending on your environment, it will be very pretty, and having this with some sunlight in it finally gives it the nice feel that this room will have at some point. Then further to the front, this is your elevator, the one we saw in the very beginning. And opposing that is your airlock. There will for sure be a door here for repressurizing, but this is your airlock, your main entrance, if you will. One more window, and then to the front you have your bridge. The back 2 seats are elevated. That's quite cool and quite nice, but as you can see, the the view is quite bad. There's a wall here. The top is also not open, so all you see is like this tiny bit of window in the back there. From the seat in the middle you get a slightly better view, but it's still quite restricted. Oops. And then from the front it gets better. It reminds me of a Connie, because you still have your cockpit struts going all the way through horizontally, but it's definitely better than a Connie. It's still not the greatest visibility though. I got some complaints from those channel members that got access to the scene, and they thought that I had put some stuff outside to limit visibility, but it really is this bad. As I said, I reconstructed the whole interior, but the front here, the cockpit, and also the outside, that's basically taken from the HoloVR model. So this is really how it looks right now. And yeah, it's just not the kind of visibility I would expect in a... well, it was advertised as an exploration ship, right? And for an exploration ship, I would expect more visibility. And both from this cockpit view, as well as just its whole appearance, it makes it look like a military ship, which it isn't. In no configuration is it a military ship, so I don't really understand why the view from this bridge looks a lot more military than the Polaris's one. The Polaris's one is so open in all directions and gives you such good visibility, while this one is so restricted. I just hope, I just saw it in the comments, I just hope that they open the top more, and then maybe they can just like raise the whole cockpit a tiny bit. I'm not sure how it will look like, but it would definitely help looking over these things, these armor plates. You couldn't really add more windows to the sides because there is some, you can't see it from here, but there's a big steel beam thing going around the whole thing, which also has no purpose. It's just too closed right now, and too not exploration focused enough for me. And since we're on that, I want to complain about the windows too. Someone mentioned in all of my videos that it's stupid to, well, I always said more windows, more windows, more windows, even though it does not make sense because they are dangerous. But someone mentioned that in this universe, glass is not really glass, but some compound material that is a lot stronger than glass and even steel, so they are not unsafe or anything, so you can basically make the whole cockpit out of glass as you have in the Polaris. My point is that I think it, even if it makes sense in the lore and in the universe, from a design standpoint, it doesn't make sense to have such a big window such a big cockpit in the Polaris. It doesn't look as aggressive. It looks like an exploration ship, right, or a touring ship, and this here looks military. Maybe it's even too much for a military ship. So my idea honestly is make more windows and then add bigger and more blast shields, because they have that technology now. Blast shields look great, they make a lot of sense, and they give you the best of both worlds. So you have great view when you're not in a fight, and then you can restrict it when you are. And I think on this one it would profit from that too, even though all these platings on the side here unfortunately are now part of the silhouette of the Galaxy, what makes it special. Even though I don't really particularly like the exterior of the ship. I think it looks like a great little Star Destroyer, but it's supposed to be an exploration multi-role ship, and I don't think it needs to be that tanky looking. Carrack feels more military than the Polaris cockpit. Yeah, I agree. But I think it's, for gameplay reasons, I understand that. Just add bigger and more blast shields, more restrictive blast shields. yeah, that's your cockpit area. And that means we have basically now seen every part of the stock ship. I can now load in the modules, but I will, for every module that I'll show you, I have to put you on a pause screen for a second, load that in. So if you have any more questions or anything about the main base variant, feel free to ask them now, and then I can load in the next. Arcturus, you plan on doing an Arastra? Yeah and no. The Arastra is something that is more interesting to me because, I mean, the more gameplay. No, that's not the right word. I don't. Well, the Arastra is interesting to me, but what I have next on my list will probably take me forever, and that is the Ironclad. I'll do the Ironclad next, just because after the whole straight, clean RSI architecture, I want to do something gritty, and also the Ironclad is quite interesting for a lot of people. So that's what I'm going to do next, and I don't expect that to be done in the next half year, to be realistic. Maybe I'll do something in between, but that's what I'm going to do next, at least. Okay, as mentioned, I'll put you on a brief pause screen that I know is not perfectly looping, and I'm sorry about that. And I'm going to load in the first module. Just 1 second. Almost there. Okay, there we go. Here we have your cargo module. I don't know if you can see it, but the scene really starts lagging when I get in the cargo module. I don't know why. It should be the least taxing one, but it's always like this. It's always the cargo module that gets my machine to its limits for some reason. The cargo module actually looks the same as what we had before, but it has some interesting features. Not interesting. Well, it has some features that you would expect in a cargo module. First of all, you have cargo plates, cargo grids. It's 4 on each side if you're talking in 32 SCU crates. So you can get 512 SCU into this if you use the cargo grids. So that's 2 by 2 by 2, 32 SCU boxes, so 2 on top of each other. And then in the middle you have a lot of wasted space here. In the middle you have your surface elevator that is big enough to get an Ursa rover in, or 2 of the 32 SCU crates. And then on the top you have the bespoke tractor beam, well, what do you call it? It's a bespoke tractor beam system where you load it all from the top instead of having a rotating tractor beam. If you want to see it in action, I can't really show it here moving, but in the cargo module video I have it all animated, and I think it adds a lot to the... It makes this feel a lot more industrial than other cargo modules or cargo areas that we have seen. I really thought it was an unnecessary addition, but seeing it in motion really adds to the whole thing and makes this a bit special, and also makes this less star beam citizen-y. If you haven't heard that term, we call it beam citizen when they use beams for everything, for healing, for mining, for repairing, for every single mechanic. They use beams, which is lazy design, and this here is really cool because it finally breaks with that tradition. Again, if you want to see it in motion, that's in the cargo module video, and I have a snippet from that video here to show more how much wasted space there is here, and how much more you can easily add in if you just offset the whole layout a bit. It is right here. So if you just offset the elevator a tiny bit, you could add a lot more SU grids and still walk alongside it. But yeah, well, I think it is for balancing reasons, because if you would fill this whole room with a cargo grid, it would be, I think it would be the second biggest cargo ship right now, next to the Hull C, and that would just be too good and too much cargo space compared to the dedicated cargo ships, because this is supposed to be a dedicated explorer ship with some multi-role purpose, so it should not be the best in any of those, right? So I think for balancing reasons they have to limit this a bit, even though there's still space to add more. I think that's all I have to say about the cargo module. Oh, actually, this is one of the best opportunities to get, well, vehicles in, obviously, but it can't really fit anything bigger than an Ursa rover. In the cargo module video, I tried tanks too. I don't think it can fit a Nova tank. I think it's just a tiny bit too small for a Nova tank. Could change like 5% more and it would fit. But apart from that, you could get, I don't know, rocks in here, or well, actually, I don't know what vehicle would make sense. Like ship-wise, I think only the Pulse and something like maybe a Fury would fit, but nothing majorly bigger, unfortunately. And if you plan to get bigger stuff in here through the main hangar door, I think this door will be built to exactly the size they will need to restrict you from having something too big in the hangar module. But even 500 SCU will be pretty slow and tedious without a big ramp or side door. So more might not be great. Yeah, I agree. Loading will also be a bit inefficient on this ship. If you haven't seen it, have a look at my cargo module video later, where I show it with cargo in it and also with the elevator on the ground, on the floor, and you can see that it is very restricted. You can only access it from two angles, really, because of, well, the whole ship hull over you. It will be really tedious. You can, as far as I know, put only 2 boxes on here and then you have to lift it up again. It will take a lot longer to load than dedicated hauler ships. And I think this is a balancing thing. This is not a dedicated hauler, so you will have some limitations, but it will still be a good cargo ship, but definitely not the best. And in that same video, I also tried how many Furies you can get in here. I forgot, to be honest, but it's something like 12 in the hangar here and another 7 in this hangar, which won't make sense, but you can have a few of them at least in here in addition to your cargo. Right, now let me put you on hold for another second and I get in the next module, which will hopefully be a lot closer to 30 FPS. One second. Here we go. Oh, actually, I have the doors in, unfortunately. But you can see that the medical module is the only one that has a window in this door. I don't know why. It would be cool in every module to have like a small window here, but unfortunately that's, at least according to the artworks, is special to the medical module. I have to walk around here. And that is your medical module. You have the same elevator size as in the hangar module, also RSI sized, because this is this was pretty much designed with the NERSA rover in mind. It's funny because I did the medical video, the medical module video, I don't know, 1.5 years ago, and that was half a year before the NERSA rover was officially announced, but I already had a NERSA rover in here in the video. That was completely lucky, and I even got the paint quite close. But yeah, it was a good guess. But now you can really see that this was completely designed with the NERSA in mind. On this side, you have some storage space. Oh, and now I have to glitch through some doors, unfortunately. And then you have 3 tier 3 beds, which is the lowest level, if I'm correct. So 3 beds for minor injuries. I really like the windows. I think they are a bit frosted in the final version, so you can't see completely through them. And then to the back you have another small room with all kinds of medical well, medical equipment, I don't know. Nothing really with gameplay focus right now, but think something like the room adjacent to the medical bay in the Carrack with just all the cool stuff in the freezers. This is the only one that has like a small, what is it called? Small corridor to this tower thing. I don't know why it's closed. And on the opposite side, this is a bit different from the layout. You will have one small room with another door right behind it. This, I'm sure, is for contamination, or well, actually decontamination, not for contamination. And even though there was never talk about decontamination gameplay, I think it's a great addition to make this look a bit more serious. And on this side now you have your tier 2 beds, 2 of them. And in the very back you have 1 tier 1 bed. So in total you have 1 tier 1, 2 tier 2s, 3 tier 3s. And that makes it quite a good selection of medical beds. As many have pointed out, you won't have any without the module equipped. That is a bit annoying. I hope that they add at least one normal bed. But with the configuration I just told you, this makes it a little more versatile than the Apollo, which can have more beds if you want to. You can have more beds in total on the Apollo, or you can have more high-level beds on the Apollo, but you can never have such a good mix as you have in the Galaxy, which I think is a good compromise to make it interesting next to the Apollo, but still make the Apollo more bespoke if you want to have a dedicated medical ambulance ship. And also this module is quite, well, it's a bit boring right now, but with all the light in, it's really a nice looking medical station. Med gun does a lot and can, yeah, right. You have the med gun. I just thought like for, well, you can still use your bed to log out, but it would be nice to have. Yeah, actually you don't really need another medical bed without the module, but a lot of people want it anyways. Right, did I forget anything about the medical module? I don't think so. So let's get the last one in. The last one obviously being the Refinery module. And this time we start from the front of the ship. Now the Refinery module is, I think, the most interesting. But unfortunately it's the one that suffers the most from not having the lighting in here. Usually this room is a very moody room with some nice atmospheric fog in it and, well, great interesting lighting. If you want to see it, if you haven't seen it in pretty, then have a look at my Refinery module video, because it looks a lot better with proper rendered lights. But you can still see that the layout is quite interesting compared to the other two. You still have an elevator. It's a lot smaller though. It's the same width as the other ones, but not as long. And I'm not even sure if it's a proper elevator or just like a door basically opening to the outer side. In the corner we have something that I can't really make out. In the very beginning I thought this was to put the saddlebags in from the prospector or mole to get the ore in, but it's not. I can show you in a second how you use those. So, I mean, especially with these beams here, I can't really make out anything that makes sense really. It's not, it doesn't look like a dispenser for boxes. One of the comments I got back in the day was that it looks like charging or parking station for mech suits, which is funny because back then we didn't have any mech suits and we do now, so it kinda looks fitting in a way. Maybe it's for mech suits, I don't know. But other than that, I have no real idea what these things, what these, there's two of them, what they are for. The rest is a bit clearer. These are the 4 reactors, they call it. That's where your refining processes happen. And then in the front here, this is where I expect the refined material come out in boxes. On the top, you have your terminals where you can control the whole thing. And Refinery gameplay is obviously not in... Well, there is Refinery gameplay in game right now, but the Refinery gameplay is very basic, and you just select one of a few refining methods and then you just wait. And in the future that is supposed to be more hands-on, where you still select a different method, but then they described as, in the Q&A, they described it as some kind of a recipe that you have, and then you can alter the recipe. You can use different agents, you can add different materials, you can speed up the process, you can slow it down, you can get more material out of it, or you can make it faster and lose some in the process. You can make it dangerous, so it might yield more, but it might also explode. They wanted to be more interesting, and I hope that it's also a bit more hands-on by not just pressing buttons on the terminal, but actually like putting stuff in here and throwing materials in these things, because these walkways have to have some kind of purpose other than just being cool. But even if they don't, they are very cool. I really like the layout on the ship. I like the elevation that you get in here. This is by far the most interesting looking module, even if you don't particularly like Refinery gameplay. Curious, gonna go out on a limb and guess emergency chemical wash, like you would go there to not die from exposure to... Okay. That's an interesting thought. Sure, why not? If you get to clean yourself from all the hazardous stuff here. I mean, you're still exposed, so... Yeah, why not? I said earlier that these are not for saddlebags, because one thing that makes this module special is that you can accept saddlebags from the exterior of the ship. So instead of the big lift here, you have two connectors on the bottom side of the ship where you can directly hook in your saddlebags from both Mole and Prospector. Well, actually, only the Prospector was mentioned, I think, but I expect them both to work. Anyway, you can get the saddlebags on the bottom side and then directly get that ore, whatever you have, into your system, unphysicalized. Then it's on your Galaxy, and then you can put the saddlebags right back. That was actually shown in one of the artworks of the ship, and I have a small video where I try to recreate that. If you haven't seen it, there's also it's also from the Refinery module video, and it's right here. So you have your Prospector just coming close, and then you can connect the saddlebags to those external connector thingies. Get the stuff out and then just put them back instantly and get back to mining. That now is actually quite efficient compared to, well, getting those saddlebags off and then transporting them to a refinery. So I assume that other refinery ships will have similar functionality. I mean, it was shown on some of them. I don't expect it to be a standout feature for the Galaxy, but if the Galaxy is the first one, this will make it quite interesting for a while to use in mining operations. And if you haven't noticed, these two big tubes are basically directly connected to those things. And once again, I think that was everything about the Refinery module. Good use of the control room. Yeah, again, in those videos I have I'm also showing the view from the tractor beams here, so I expect the tractor beams to be controlled from this room, as well as the lift. Okay, if there's anything else about the interior of the ship that you can think of, feel free to ask now. Otherwise, I would now try to load in the exterior, but that is a whole different scene, so we can't go back to the interior for a while. Anything else about the interior that you want to see or talk about or get back to? No? Okay, then let's just pause this one more time. And I'll load the exterior. Again, unfortunately, this will be a lot less pretty because I had to remove all of the lights from the hall. In the latest video, I had to render this view that you're going to see for days. Not invalid. Should calculate the total mass of the ship wasted on extra doors. Yeah. I can say for sure it's less wasted space than on the newly announced Paladin. If any ship has too many doors and stairs, then it's that one. Almost there. Bear with me. Here we go. Oh yeah, that's lagging a bit. I'm sorry, that's too much for my machine, or probably every machine in outside of a game engine. That's basically now your hollow viewer model. So again, this is the official stuff, just textured and correctly scaled. I mean, it was correctly scaled, but put into some kind of reference room. As you can see, this has the concierge paint on it, which is the protector paint, which I think is a bit prettier than the base paint. It looks a little too blue in this room, but again, if you, in the video I have it rendered with proper lighting, and then it looks pretty nice. So we have 3 turrets. The front I think is S5, and the other ones I'm not sure, to be honest. Those are the ones I talked about, where you have the stations on the side. Overall it's a little over 100 meters long, so not too big actually for a Star Citizen ship. I think many people were surprised how small it actually is, because exterior wise it looks a lot, or it feels a lot bigger. Then you have your module elevator here, and that is now you can, I think someone mentioned earlier that it would be great to have a bigger lift, like where the whole cargo module basically becomes a lift, like you have on the Connie series, but that would be a bit tricky because the exterior here is so detailed and already so angled. So that's one more reason why loading and unloading will be extra tedious on this ship. You can see now how much stuff there's in the way from the sides, and from now in the front we have this metal thing here in the way. That's also probably restricting you from putting more boxes on top of each other. So yeah, this will be one of the more tedious ships to load, but it's also, it looks cool, okay? It looks interesting. Now if we jump on the exterior or top hull, this is where you have your docking port. That is where we looked at from the other side earlier. In the last stream someone asked me if you could just jump out of that and climb down here and safely exit the ship. I don't think you can, honestly. I mean, maybe you would survive the jump, but there's a surface elevator. I would just use that, to be honest. And then here you can see all those armor plating. There's so much armor on this ship. And these here, I talked about these things earlier. These are what really restricts you from opening the windows further to the back. I would still open it a little more. I would open it as much as I could. Maybe even move this thing a bit back because it has no real purpose I could think of. But yeah, that is one of the many reasons you can't have more glass on the sides. Here's your window to the, that's just the hallway. This would be the mess hall that I have not loaded in currently. And there's nothing interesting on the back side of the ship. I expect to get some PDCs here too, because they are the new thing right now and they would really fit on this one, but they weren't a thing when this was announced, so I'm sure they will be added later. Right, and there we go. That, I think, is everything I have to say about it. I forgot to mention that there will be more modules, the refinery module and the base building module, but there's no information about that so far, so I'll get back to that whenever we have more information on it, I think. If there's anything else you want to see, feel free to ask. But from my point, that's the end of the tour. Actuaries, I hope they do a data module and maybe a diner. A diner module? I mean, I heard about the data running module before, that people would like that. But a dyna module, that's something I haven't heard of. I think the most requested ones are well, military ones with more weaponry on the bottom. Because it will be mostly on the bottom, I could think of something like big cannons on the bottom side for orbital bombardments, even though that wouldn't have a great functionality in game right now. Or maybe like a landing ship with more functionality for getting soldiers down, but again, there would be better suited ships for that. I think refinery and crafting and base building will be the most interesting modules to come, but a dyna, great idea. I would support it if it could have a dyna. Like, I mean, we have our space trading ports, like the Kraken Privateer has its own marketplace, and then we have the Banu Merchantman. Why not have a space dyna? Sure. Alright, guys. Thank you for joining me. Have a great Christmas, have a great holiday, have a happy new year, and most of all, have a bug-free 4.0. Enjoy your time there. And then maybe join me next year when I have some new stuff cooking. Thank you very much. Have a good day and see you soon. Bye-bye.